Hello guys, Joe Kim from Makgeolli. How's everyone been doing? Hopefully everyone has been having a nice and cool fall season. Um, if you're in Korea or if you're traveling to Korea, fall is the best time to come visit. The weather is super nice, the foliage is quite amazing, and yes, for makgeolli makers like ourselves, then it's also one of the best times to, of course, make makgeolli. Right now, I'm not at the brewery. We're going through renovations, which I'm quite excited, and we are expanding. So we're actually going to have separate more fermentation kind of rooms, and at the same time our teaching space is going to be much bigger too, so we're going to be able to accommodate bigger classes, open up new classes too. So for people who have taken our classes, of course, and you want to learn also something more advanced, including soju too now, then you know where to find me. Go to our website and you'll find all the information, or you can always send us a message through all the SNS kind of good stuff. But quite excited. So that being said, I'm at my house, and of course I miss making makgeolli too. So that's what I'm actually doing at the moment. I'm actually boiling some water right now to make a quick and easy 단양주. And I was thinking, well, I do want to, I haven't uploaded a lot of YouTube videos, especially this year. So I want to start helping more people, get better types of makgeolli. So I'm creating a little series of videos to help you guys, make much better makgeolli. So now's the time too. So if you guys have any questions or comments, you can always leave them down in the description, and I'll be happy to address them as we go through this series, right? So, okay. So the format of these videos are going to be quite short too, and if you stick to the end, I'm always going to give you whether you're a beginner or a more intermediate makgeolli maker, then I'm going to give you perhaps something that's really valuable. So stick to the end stick to the end of this video. All right, so we're going to start with makgeolli again 101, the essential ingredients, So now, of course, we're going to need some short grain rice, that being either chapsal or mepsal. So chapsal is going to be sweet rice, mepsal is going to be your non-glutinous rice. Basically, the most important thing you need to know is that the difference between the two is in the starch content. Now, one thing, and this is valuable tip, I believe that a lot of people who first get into making makgeolli, the main objective is going to be making a 단양주, or a one-stage makgeolli. If you have no idea with the terminology and the words, again, watch the other videos, or I'm going to link down our other resources, such as our book or our online course. So I'll plug that in a little bit later too. But again, so what happens is you have chapsal, sweet rice, or mepsal, non-glutinous rice. Mepsal, your second rice, is that type of rice that you would use. It's your everyday rice. So if you go to an Asian restaurant, if you come to Korea, it's like sushi rice, if anything. Now, using mepsal, it's much harder actually for people who are making tanyangjus or are looking into. Actually, I'm gonna take a break, take a pause, because water is, the steamer is steaming. So, yes. Very good. People are gonna try and using that rice, but the problem is that that rice actually is much harder to make makgeolli for beginners too, or especially if you're just making a one-stage makgeolli. Reason is that those types of rice need more water absorption. So again, tip is to soak your rice for a much longer time. For mepsal, anytime, minimum 7 hours, or I just like to soak it overnight, if anything. And there's little of other more advanced things, but that's one tip too. You want to soak that rice longer, and perhaps the steaming too. You want to steam that rice slightly a little bit longer too. So again, despite all that, I do recommend beginners or people just making one stage makgeollis usually stick to chapsal, or that's going to be your sweet rice, and mainly because sweet rice absorbs water much better, so the steaming process is going to be much easier, and there's less prone for mistakes. So in the end, using chapsal is better. I'm steaming chapsal and making chapsal makgeolli right now. So if you are again going to make a tanyangju, then I recommend using chapsal first, or stick to chapsal if anything. Later, if you feel more confident, then like I always say, don't just like change it completely to mepsal, but try adding a little bit of mepsal and see how that changes the texture and the flavor dynamics into your makgeolli, right? So, okay, the second ingredient is water. Yes, and then, water is something not to be overlooked. Actually, what happens is if your water tends to be really heavy, or in the taste, or sometimes it gives you a bit of an aftertaste, then hard water is not very suitable for makgeolli making too. What we want is actually water that's more neutral and easier to drink and much on the softer side. So this video is not going to explain all the intricacies about water, of course, but keep that in mind. You want to perhaps try using different types of filters. The filters that we use in Bekuseng are carbon filters, running through the whole reverse osmosis kind of thing. So yes, so water is something not to be overlooked. If you have questions about your water and how you can treat them, then you're gonna have to go to another YouTube video. But yes, okay. And the third and last most important ingredient that it actually causes headaches for people everywhere they go is actually nuruk. Now, why do I say headache? Because it's hard to get. It's easier to find more nowadays in places like in the US or Canada, where you have H Marts or Korean supermarkets, of course. If you actually cannot find nuruk, we do have a small Shopify store that I'm still at the moment building up, and we sell nuruk. So not very long ago, I've shipped nuruk to a girl in France. So, she got it, she's happy, and she's on her way of brewing more delicious makgeolli. And we'll actually, in the near future, we'll have different types of nuruks too. Just recently in Korea too, there's more nuruk manufacturers that are a little bit more specialized into doing other types of nuruk, so which is exciting. And I'll be posting perhaps in the near future, brewing at the same time, and giving you guys details of those results of using different types of nuruk, of course. Very good. Now, but one thing I do want to share about nuruk is that a lot of people don't know about the concept of popche. Okay, so what happens is the whole idea of popche is to kind of re-energize or revitalize the nuruk that has been either freshly just made, or at the same time nuruk that you just find at the supermarket and that has been trapped in that plastic bag for a long time. So what you actually need to do with popche is, especially if you buy your nuruk, then you want to re-energize that nuruk by spreading it out somewhere where it has a good ventilation. If you put it just outside on the roof, you'll probably have birds eating it, so you gotta be careful for that. I just had a student. He lives in Czech Republic, and he was just telling me he was doing popche and then that the birds were eating it. So, or sometimes cats eat it too, and they start pooping everywhere. So be careful of if your pets eat the nuruk. So about the popche, in essence, if you do that, especially with recently just bought nuruk, then it's gonna it's gonna get rid of that kind of funky smell. It's gonna make it, it's gonna let the color acquire, it's gonna let it get a better color too. And it's gonna re-energize that nuruk too. So I have a more detailed video on what to do with nuruk. You probably see it right here, but again, make sure you do the popche anytime you purchase nuruk. So again, those are the three essential ingredients actually, and that's kind of the wonderful thing about makgeolli. You just need rice, water, and nuruk, and its unique fermentation will, you know, give you delicious makgeolli, of course. Now, simple doesn't mean easy, of course. Simple means also more room for errors. So again, in this series of videos, we're gonna dive into some of the biggest problems people run into when making their tanyang juice or a one stage, which is oh, it's quite sour. It's you know, the sourness is pretty, it's a big one, right? There's tons of variables that can actually make your tanyangju or your makgeolli overly sour. That doesn't mean that sourness is not going to exist. Like I always say, the beauty of makgeolli is having a subtle balance between different flavors, right? So a little bit of sweetness, savoriness, a little bit of acidity too, all well balanced too. Of course, you can make makgeolli using different rice preparation methods that can actually give you sweeter makgeollis at the same time too. So if you want to learn about all these different rice preparation methods, everything more in detail, of course, now's the time to plug in my online course. Yes, we have an online course, and in the online course, you'll find at the moment 21 videos, which you can just, you know, if you enroll into our course, they are for yours to keep forever. And those videos are never gonna get old. You can come back to them. You know, you'll be able to go back to them, and at your own pace, you'll be doing wonderful makgeolli. I think the most important takeaway on the first video is, again, one more time, try using chapsal or sweet rice for your tanyangju or one stage makgeolli. Number two, make sure you do make sure that in some ways you get a more softer water, or try and treat that water if you can. And number two, do not overlook your water. Again, not a lot of people go, water, tasty. But once you start, not just brewing makgeolli, but once you start making things like wines and beers, then yes, water tends something to be very important too. If you have questions about water, you can always ask your local beer brewer. They'll probably should know too about their water. And number three, don't forget to always do the popche too, which is going to re-energize that nuruk and give it more life anytime you make makgeolli. So I hope you guys got a little bit more insight, and I hope these tips will help for you anytime you start brewing makgeolli. Peace.